My name is Rebecca Calzontzi. This summer, I worked with the city of Bridgeport, Connecticut on building-based climate policy. My focus was to explore policies the city can adopt to reduce building emissions and to enhance climate resilience. There are many factors that come into play when you're evaluating these kinds of policy options, and they include the property type, the city's qualities and broader goals, practical considerations like resource availability, the level of community awareness and buy-in, and the political climate. And then for local municipalities specifically, there's also a threshold question about what kind of policy measures they're authorized to adopt. So there's a key policy tool that is not available to municipalities in Connecticut, and that's a stretch building code. So I found that in the absence of stretch codes, a critical tool that Bridgeport can use is its zoning code. Now, a few years ago, Connecticut passed a law allowing municipalities to use zoning to require or to promote the use of renewables and energy efficiency. And so this can be key for addressing emissions and resilience of new development. Now, while this legal authority is relatively new, I identified two coastal cities that are already developing and implementing sustainable zoning requirements. And I had the fantastic opportunity to speak with staff from both of these cities to learn about how they're using their zoning codes in really bold and proactive ways. I think that Bridgeport should explore this path. Bridgeport is the most populous city in the state, and it can make a very strong statement both to the state government and to other municipalities if it were to use its zoning authority to its fullest extent as a tool for climate policy. So when it comes to existing buildings with built-in emissions and ongoing emissions, those are harder to tackle. But one approach is first to require energy use benchmarking and disclosure, and then to integrate emission reduction requirements over time. This can be a heavier lift than a zoning code amendment. It requires the city to stand up a benchmarking program and then monitor reporting and compliance. But as a pilot phase, the city can begin by benchmarking energy use for municipal buildings. And this is something Bridgeport is in the process of starting now. So not only will this help the city identify inefficiencies in its own energy use, but it's also a signal to the community that the local government values energy efficiency and smart energy management. So these are mandate-based policies. As an alternative, you can use incentives for sustainable development. You can have zoning incentives that allow for additional density, process incentives that expedite planning review, or financial incentives that offer reduced permit fees. And I think that if the city decides that it's not the time now for mandatory policies, it can focus on an incentive package that helps to streamline the development process for sustainable building. So thanks to this project, I learned a tremendous amount about local policy and process. I learned also about the importance of regional collaboration. And even though every city has its own needs, many are working toward the same climate goals and can benefit from ongoing communication about policy initiatives. I was also fortunate to connect with many people who are working in this space. I spoke with sustainability professionals from other climate forward cities and with sustainable design experts. And of course, I learned so much from my mentors in Bridgeport, who are incredibly thoughtful and passionate about making Bridgeport a climate leader. So I want to give a huge thank you to Kathy, to Jonathan, and to Jackson for your really wonderful and insightful guidance this summer and for showing me how all of this important work gets done.